天，太吓人了吧！机器人着火了，万达广场这里，吓死人了。
Let's watch it again. This is a transformer that was hired for the opening ceremony of a shopping mall in China. During the performance, it suddenly caught fire, and Chinese people laughed and commented that the transformer was turned into Nezha, a Chinese mythological figure with wheels of fire under its feet. Although it was a robot played by a human, real Chinese robots are disappointing sometimes too. On September 11th, at the 2021 World Robot Conference in Beijing, China's Vice Minister of Industry and Information Technology said that China's industrial robot market has been the world's #1 for 8 consecutive years. However, he also admitted that the high-end supply of China's robotics industry is still lacking and critical core technologies need further breakthroughs. In this episode, we explore the AI technology behind China's robotics and how advanced China really is in this regard. The 20th century was known as the oil century, a country that took the lead in the petrochemical industry and the industries applying petroleum products would lead the world. The 21st century is known as the century of information technology, and the country that takes the lead in IT and related industries will probably control the world. With China's rapid expansion in AI, China and the US have become major competitors in this field.
In
the process of collecting motion technical data, the previous technical means required a lot of time and manpower. Since 2018, we have developed the AI system for markerless human movement, automatic capture, and analysis. Based on this system, the data that we needed several hours to collect can be obtained in a few minutes.
Artificial intelligence, or AI, in a nutshell, is the simulation of human consciousness and thought processes using machine learning and data analysis methods to give machines human-like capabilities. Since the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, launched the Made in China 2025 strategy in 2015, artificial intelligence has been the focus of its development. China has introduced several regulations and supporting policies to boost the industry with the force of an entire nation. In addition to economic development, the CCP believes that the emerging technological revolution, especially AI, can help consolidate its authoritarian centralized system. In 2014, the Chinese government launched a social credit system that links the social behavior of all ordinary citizens to a mass surveillance system using facial recognition technology and big data analytics for mass social control with the help of AI. By 2020, the system was linked to almost all public services, including employment and education opportunities, loans, and the purchase of flight and high-speed rail tickets, all of which can be controlled through networking. For example, the Communist government recently asked its citizens to download a software called National Anti-Fraud Center, and if they failed to do so, they would be referred to the police.
拦了电单车，反诈 APP 检查。
This control measure has been propagated to the whole society in the form of health codes during the COVID-19 outbreak. In addition to the policy support from the Chinese government, the big leap in AI development in China is also being driven by massive capital from Wall Street. China's news agency, Xinhua, reported that the US accounted for 39% of the total $26.6 billion in first-round financing for global AI companies in 2019, with China accounting for 13%, followed by the UK at 7%, Japan at 5.3%, and India at 4.9%. Much of the venture capital invested in China's AI industry has come from Wall Street. All of China's leading high-tech companies, almost without exception, are backed by large US capital, with Baidu, Tencent, Alibaba, and ByteDance all listed on Wall Street. The investment arms of these companies invest heavily in Chinese high-tech companies, including AI startups. In a report titled, A Study of China's Growing AI Companies, Deloitte notes that China's AI industry will top 500 billion RMB, or $78.4 billion by 2025. So, is China's AI technology already very sophisticated and advanced? There are two major aspects of AI development. One is computing and the other is data. Whoever has faster computing and more data will win the AI race. A report in 2019 by the Center for Data Innovation that compared the US, China, and the EU in AI showed that the US was leading in 4 areas of AI development: talent, research, development, and hardware, while China held the lead in 2 areas: data and applications. This conclusion is roughly the same as the findings of several other studies. The reason China is leading in both data and applications is that Chinese law requires companies to obey the government. In such a system, large high-tech companies follow the government's orders and their products are mandated by the government to collect huge amounts of data easily. As a result, China has a lot of data to train AI models. It can quickly put AI technology into the application and therefore can grow very quickly in a short period. Naturally, there are inherent flaws in the CCP's big data when it relies entirely on local data, as it can only be limited to local users and isn't universally useful. So, where does China's AI industry fall short? The answer, given by Goldman Sachs in its 2017 report, was chips. This is because the computing power of AI depends largely on chips. The most mainstream AI chip is the general-purpose chip, namely the graphics processor or GPU. 2 American companies, NVIDIA and AMD, have an overwhelming dominance in GPU technology. According to a report by Tom's Hardware in June 2021, NVIDIA alone accounted for 81% of the standalone GPU shipments in the first quarter of 2021, and AMD accounted for 19%. At present, semi-custom chips, FPGAs, or field programmable gate arrays are growing into the mainstream. In the FPGA chip market, all the 4 major manufacturers are in the US. They are Xilinx, Intel's Altera, Lattice, and Microsemi. Together, the 4 giants account for more than 98% of the FPGA market. In addition, there are fully customized ASIC architectures, dedicated chips tailored to specific needs. This type of chip is still a long way from commercialization on a large scale. These chips are mainly applicable to artificial intelligence terminals, including robots, drones, and autonomous driving. Because of the large difference in demand, the traditional chip makers are actively engaged. Chinese companies including Huawei, HiSilicon, and Cambricon of the Chinese Academy of Sciences have also joined. There are many manufacturers in the industry and none are dominating. Because of this, the CCP considers ASIC chips as its breakthrough opportunity in the chip race. However, even the domestic ASIC chips are mainly manufactured by overseas manufacturers such as TSMC and can't do without the patented chip technology of the US. Although there are some FPGA companies backed by the government in China, there are big gaps in product performance, power consumption, and functionality compared to the 4 major manufacturers in the US.
北环着火的是红7H5，对方是特斯拉，这是特斯拉车主美女小姐姐。郑州威斯环红旗，这个是个亮点，特斯拉那个。
In industrial robots, the 3 most technically difficult core components are first, the controller, equivalent to the human brain; second, the servo machine or servo system, equivalent to the human heart; third, the precision reducer, equivalent to the joints of an arm. Currently, 85% of the brain market, 90% of the heart market, and over 80% of the arm joint system market for Chinese robots are served by foreign brands. Among them, Japan has the absolute leading position in robot reducers, i.e. arm joints. 75% of precision reducers in the global robotics industry are currently provided by 2 Japanese companies, Nabtesco and Harmonic Drive. Take a look at this robot introduced by the Hubei provincial government during the outbreak. It requires people to bite down on a biting device to facilitate the testing process. For the heart of the robot or special servo motors, Japanese products lead with a market share of about 50%, while European brands represented by Siemens, Bosch, and Schneider occupy the high-end market of servo motors in China with an overall market share of about 30%. Finally, for the controller, the most important component of the robot, i.e. the brain, a professional article in China states outright that there is a big gap between domestic and foreign industrial robots, and the reason is that China hasn't acquired the core algorithm. A member from the Chinese Academy of Engineering said at the beginning of 2021, "Even if AI applications are done well, if the core algorithm isn't working, then innovation won't be possible." Another member of the Academy also said in 2019, "With the core algorithm lacking, the development of artificial intelligence faces a stuck-neck dilemma." In terms of basic algorithms, 93% of Chinese developers use open-source software packages developed by US institutions. It means China relies heavily on US open-sourced algorithms. For example, TensorFlow by Google and Microsoft GitHub is the most popular software packages used by researchers in China and the US. Why is it that despite heavy investment by the government, China still lags relatively behind in AI talent, research, development, and hardware? We have explored this subject in previous episodes on chip research and development in China. In general, in a corrupt system and environment where crooks can get rich by exploiting government policies, there are fewer and fewer techies in China who can endure hardship and loneliness and commit themselves to R&D. A US-based commentator on current affairs in China said, "If the CCP takes the lead in artificial intelligence, the fate of humanity will face a huge shift. AI technology could give rise to a new generation of intelligent weapons and cyber attack technology which could be more threatening than nuclear weapons. These technologies could accomplish almost instantaneous total control and destruction of a country's infrastructure as well as weapons systems. It's going to be the model for future warfare, accomplished by the touch of a few buttons in front of a computer." In the AI field, since the US has an irreplaceable monopoly on AI's basic hardware, the chip, it would be simple logic to assume that if the US wanted to curb China's AI development, it would simply cut off the supply of AI chips. However, as we have discussed before, there are too many people in the world outside of China who don't yet understand the CCP's mindset.